I don't know. So many cases in Ontario and Toronto. Some irresponsible people not wash. You just have to wash your hands. Fuck. Sorry. Pardon my. No. Forget it. Just wash your hands. It's easy. Just wash your hands. Don't be coughing on people. Like real.
All right, guys. Here we go. Welcome to another week of BrackCast.
Is it so hard to wash your hands?
Let's see, what's everyone's...
Like, people wouldn't catch the common cold or flu. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works, but you'd have less of a chance of catching the flu if you just wash your hands.
RSV has been, like, seriously down, respiratory syncytial virus for, like, kids. Like, since masks have been worn, like, you don't see it anymore in the emergency departments. Oh.
What don't you see anymore?
Masks?
RSV.
It's
like V. It's like it's kids get it and it causes like younger kids get it and they cause like breathing problems. But because of the masks, you don't see kids coming in the emergency department for it anymore.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So obvious benefits already, just wearing a mask and like washing your hands.
Yeah, washing hands is huge.
I think the best is staying home when you're sick.
That too.
People still went to work when they were sick.
Yeah.
Or don't you put it in your mouth?
Yeah. Don't you put it in your mouth?
Classic things like that. It's the small things that make a big difference.
Okay.
But more freedom.
Now, so. Any word from the rest?
Who's the rest?
Well, Dan, at least. Was he coming?
Don't know. Is he on raft?
That was 10:25. No, it doesn't look like it. Are the Raptors playing? Maybe. Anyway, so have you heard the ABC song now, Paul?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh, I can't get used to it. I'm trying to.
It doesn't rhyme, so it's like it doesn't work. It doesn't rhyme. All right, for the viewers out there, this is what sparked today's subject. And how did you come across this, Warr?
Streamers.
Makes me angry.
Here we go. I'm gonna press play.
Oh, I'm already cringing.
I know. I don't want to hear it either.
I don't want to mute right now.
I need to listen to it. Wait. Are you streaming right now?
Okay, yes. It's on. I'm sharing the screen on Discord.
Okay, sorry. Go again.
Here we go.
Paul, you have to be playing it too.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah, Q.
H, I, J, K, L, M.
I'm just gonna make this just to piss
Oh my
O,
god.
P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. A, B.
Okay, hold on. Is that a joke though? WMBD News. WMBD News only 3.22K subs.
I hope it's the joke.
Comments are turned off for a reason.
And it's from 2019.
Look at
probably
this.
Because
like to
people
dislike
are showing it to their kids and people swearing in the comments, you know?
Probably. But dude, 5.3K likes, surprising, but 56,000 dislikes. Not surprising.
Yeah. That's understandable.
What else is on WMBD News? Let's see. Students paint bench for
actual
Earth Day.
news. Look at the views on these things, and then the alphabet song gets like how many
6
hits?
views, 12 views, 5 views, 3 views. That's crazy. Let's sort by most popular. 1.2 million.
1.2.
175K for.
So they've picked up.
Despite rising cases numbers. Oh boy. Thousands gather for annual white trash bash.
What?
White trash bash.
8 months ago. Oh man. Back the blue. Hundreds of bikers ride to honor law enforcement. That was 9 months ago. I mean, okay.
What's their channel about?
Nothing. They're
No.
just
The United States. It's location United States.
I mean, supposedly some places are using that as the song. Supposedly.
Because like even hearing the singer, I thought it was a joke. It sounded like, Filipino accent.
Sounds like a joke.
Okay, so
Good
that's
troll.
okay. So we're all kind of in agreement. Why?
Oh, yeah, no, it makes like I guess you can kind of guess as to why, like the whole
We know
Elemental.
why. Elemento.
Yeah.
I get it. But it's not like kids are introduced to the song first and then the letters. Right? Wouldn't
don't
they
know.
be introduced to the letters first individually and then
think
the
I'd
song is
be-
brought in?
I feel like the song came before the actual letters.
Really?
But I can't remember when that was that young. Like I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't remember that young either. I feel
No.
like you probably see the letters, but you learn them through the song.
Well,
So-
but the first thing you do
Yeah.
is this is the letter A. They teach you the first 3 letters separately, don't they? And then what? They just throw in the last 23 all at once. Elemento. My favorite letter is Elemento. So Kyle,
Even with like between V and W, the fact that it's kind of off rhythm at that point, I'm just like, you can even like
they could
at
have
least
changed.
time it a bit better or like
Yeah, break up the beginning. Like,
compose
Yeah.
it.
why is it that let's just slow down on W? Or
T U.
I think they're intentionally just trying to piss you off. Like that ending just like made me angry. Like I was just like, I can't.
I am for the A B C D F G. You got to keep it there. H I J
O
K
P
L.
Q R S T U V W.
You should have just kept going slow and be like X and Y Z.
If anything, they could have done. Well, no, because there's nothing that rhymes with the E sound between G and P. That's a lot. That's why it was Elemento. You had to have Elemento
Elemental.
because it rhymes. That's what makes the song good. It's what rappers do.
Yeah,
It's what makes the song memorable.
HIJKLMN. Is that what? Is that what he said? I forget.
HIJKL. Yeah, it's just end the phrase at end.
OPQRSTU.
Yeah, this. Okay, I think fine. Stop at N, but the OPQRSTU is dumb.
It's the VW that
You
that
could have
hurts as
stopped
well.
at T. You could have stopped at T.
Yeah.
OPQRSTUVWXYZ. That kind of makes a little bit more sense, right? You stop at T, huh? You know what I mean? If you're gonna stop at N, A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z, right?
Yep, that would make more sense.
Okay, yeah,
That
okay,
would have been
yeah.
good.
I like that version.
At least
Yeah.
there's no other words like end. Like I think they wanted to take out any words, which I get. But yeah. Anyway. Apparently this is the thing. I've not heard this, but apparently other people have, right?
It
Okay,
made
so
it to Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah had a segment on it a long time ago.
Really?
new math.
I
is
believe it's called Common Core.
Is it Common Core? I'm talking about the hashtag one. Have you seen the hashtag one?
Yeah, it's right there. You're looking at it. It's the third link on your screen. Common Core. It's breaking it down into tens and digits. Not okay. The fourth one.
Did you guys listen to the alphabet from
This is hashtag
my
one?
neck, my back?
Yes, you said that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
That was good.
yeah.
No,
That was-
I'm talking about where like
Oh wait, the Japanese version of multiplying two-digit numbers.
is that
Yeah, there's the Japanese method of multiplying two double-digit numbers, and it's pretty intuitive, and it works for 3-digit, 4 digits as long as you have a big piece of paper.
But why is
Yeah.
it graphical though? It doesn't seem calculative. It seems sorry, not graphical. Not even that's not the right word. It's like
It's visual.
Yeah.
And it works. Why not?
Math isn't visual.
Huh?
Anyway.
It can be.
Okay, well, first, is this before grade 10, Kyle? Multiplication?
Oh, hell yeah. Multiplication's like grade 6, 7. Not even, like 5 or 6, yeah?
Did you see kids doing this?
You can start seeing multiplications in grade 3.
That's single digits though, right?
I remember memorizing the tables in grade 4.
Yeah, times tables was grade 4.
Yeah. So grade 5 when I taught the kids, it was understood that the kids should know their times tables already.
Yeah, 3rd grade.
To 12 or to 10?
12.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I guess, part of the problem too, because at the younger years they're putting less emphasis on like rote learning, which is the best way to learn times tables. Really, is to like just do a bazillion problems or just recite them over and over. So if they're teaching teachers to get away from doing repetitive things and to maximize engagement instead of learning, basically, you're going to see a decline in math skills, and that's basically what you see.
Have you seen Common Core math, Kyle? I'm sure you have, right?
Is that the weird way?
Here we go.
Yeah, I've seen this.
I've got 3 tens, which is 30, and 5 ones. So that is 30 plus 5.
Okay.
12 is 1 10.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 2 ones.
I did watch this, yeah.
Okay, so that's step 1. The next step would be to draw a large box.
Yes, it's so funny.
Okay. And on this box, we're going to put both of our expanded numbers. So on the top, I'm going to put 30 plus 5. And on the side, I'm going to put 10 plus 2. Where your plus signs are, I want you to draw lines through the middle and down it. And then in the very corner, we're still multiplying, so I'm going to put a big multiplication sign. Starting with our very first number on the top, we say 10 times this, 10 times that. So first we're going to do 10 times 30. Sometimes it gets a little tricky when we have those extra zeros on there when we're multiplying by a 10. So I like to say 1 times 3 is 3. And how many zeros do we have? We've got 2, so we attach them to the end of the number. So 10 times 30 is 300.
Like a kid would be already thinking about
this,
playing basketball.
10 times that. 10 times 5 is 50.
Or jump
so it goes
rope,
in the first box.
Playing tag at
And then we
recess.
do 2. We go down to the 2 because we're done with the 10. 2 times this, 2 times that. So 2 times 30. 2 times 3 is 6. And between both of these numbers, I've only got the 1 0, so I attach it to the end. 2 times 30 is 60.
2 Roddies.
2 times this, 2 times that. Now I'm going to do 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. I filled up all my numbers on the inside. Now all I have to do is add them up. So over here I'm going to add 300.
Like I can say with
And I like to
100%
check 'em off
certainty
as I
that
go.
this is not a math teacher.
50,
Like, there's no way a real math teacher would teach this.
60.
I mean, admittedly, that's how I do it mentally.
Look how many steps. Really?
Yeah, mentally
Make
that's
sure
how I
you
do
line
it
up
as
your
well.
places too.
There's no way you do that mentally.
You do that
Yeah,
mentally?
Zeros all the way
Yeah, you
down,
do your
so
tens first,
0.
then you do
Yeah.
your singles, and
0
then you
plus
do the
5
cross.
is 5.
Yeah.
You do 30 times
5
10
plus 6
plus
I would
10
not do
times
11,
that.
11 plus 1 more
Oh, you
is
break down the numbers.
12.
I know
break
people
down
who
the
do
numbers.
think
Bring
like
that
that.
two
They,
and
they
carry
estimate
that
that way
number.
too. They
Like, but there
Three
wouldn't be
plus
4
1 is
different numbers you're
4.
adding in your head.
at the
Yep.
end.
And that is your answer.
Okay, I definitely don't do
35
that. I
times
wouldn't teach
12
child
I don't do
equals
that way either.
400.
Well, 'cause, like,
Here's what I would do if I see the numbers like that.
I memorize visually what this guy did, and I would do it in my head as he's writing the top right.
I look. Well,
I would just do that in my head.
I see the 12 and I go, oh, yes, 350.
Plus
350 plus 2 times 35, which is
yeah,
70.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
350 plus 70 is
Yeah,
420.
you simplify the yeah.
That's how
something
I would
that's
do it in
rounded
my
up
head.
number. That's
There's
good,
no
too.
there's no 4 numbers. There's no like.
No, but once you get into like the whole, once you get past 12 or things that are like 35 multiplied by 47, then I'll do it that way, where you break it into tens and singles and have 4 numbers to add up.
I would do it the old way, which is you do
Line them up.
You do the 2. Yeah, you line them up. You add a 0 to 1 row, the tens row. You end up with 2 numbers and you add them.
Yeah, I remember doing that. Like if I had pencil and paper. Yeah.
Paul looks genuinely worried about this new method. JD said.
What?
I mean, what's nice about math is there isn't necessarily just one way to do things. Like, obviously, there's going to be kids that relate to certain methods better. You know, the way we learned it traditionally makes sense. It works. If there's a kid that's struggling with that and just has the questions, I wouldn't mind showing them the other way and be like, yo, if this works better for you, it's slower. But
yeah, but do you think
I don't
breaking
think
it up like that
is better?
How can that even promote visually thinking about it the way you guys did and like breaking it up into simple terms? Like, you got to draw a box, think about zeros and attach them, and then.
I mean, to each of their own when it comes to this stuff. I think it's good to have a foundation like what we learned as kids, so that you have a way that works every time. But then you're always going to have the kids that don't get that or just don't want to get that. So you have to find different ways to do it. It's just sad that this is how it's taught first. Well, I don't know. Like,
I've never seen this before. Like when I was growing up, right? None of us saw this growing up, right?
No, we wouldn't have. Yeah.
No, it's just the way on the right. Yeah.
This is terrible.
So what was that Japanese one you said?
Oh, it's the Japanese multiplication one. Yeah, just like double or triple digit multiplication.
Yeah, don't they use their like fingers and they're like counting? And
that's the Chinese way.
That's the one. Crazy.
This one's cool. How that
today I'm going to show you.
Okay, is it cool or is it intuitive? I don't think it's intuitive. Like even the box is more intuitive than this, I think.
This is pretty much the box thing you just saw.
I know, but you're counting dots at the end. You're not kind of like taking 2 numbers in relation to each other.
No.
You're looking to count dots. At least the other one, you're still kind of adding. Like there's still some sort of calculation to it.
I think what's nice about this is a way to intrigue kids. Be like, oh my gosh, how did that work?
Yeah, it's cool, but practical. I don't know if you're going to use this in
a really simple way to multiply.
Have you seen this? Any Paul?
No.
Kyle?
No.
Pretty sick.
I saw the Japanese one, but maybe not this video, but I've seen the Japanese
by
like
2 numbers together.
3 digit by 3 digit.
This technique originates from Japan and involves substituting numbers for lines. We'll start with 13 times 21. As we can see, the first digit in this equation is 1, which means we draw 1 straight line diagonally like this. The next digit is 3, so we leave a little space, then draw 3 lines parallel to the first one like this. After the multiplication sign, the first number we have is 2, so we draw 2 lines next to each other from here to here. And the final digit is 1, so we draw 1 line from here to here. That's the first part complete, and it should look something like this. Once we've drawn it out, we need to separate it into 3 separate zones where the lines cross, like this. Then starting from the right-hand zone, we need to count how many times any of the lines cross. In this case, 3. We write that here and move on to the next zone. So again, we count how many times the lines cross, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and write it at the top. Then move on to the last zone and do exactly the same again. 1, 2. 2, 7, 3. And that gives us our answer. 13 times 21 is 273. Pretty cool, huh? So here's another quick example.
If I had to say,
32 times 12.
That's pretty much like a hybrid of the Common Core and the traditional way of what we do. Like there are elements of it that fit, but obviously it's the same question. It's the same problem that you're getting the same answer. But there are elements of both, because in that situation, you're splitting up your 10, you're splitting up your units, and then you're just adding them together. In the Common Core, you split up your 100, split up your units, split up your 10s.
Like I would never do that, but I do think it's cool.
That's
like,
cool.
It's like,
yeah, that's
all right, next we're gonna do 79 times 93, and then it's just like like, and then you're sitting there like, what did 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
Well, they don't show the carryover, do they? Going into
You don't
the
have to
next-
carry any. Well,
There's
you don't have to-
no. The,
Well,
the,
once you, yeah, I guess once you
You
get
do.
into like,
carryover is
the middle section.
dots, the
Yeah.
intersections on
you get
top.
60. That's right.
Wait, the
Pretty sick.
intersections on top. What do you mean?
I think that's the carryover.
Well, no, once you get more than 10 intersections, right? You guys still have to carry one over.
Yeah, you gotta
Oh,
bump it
that,
to the
yeah,
next
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But if it's a 3-digit
It's
and a 2-digit, it's a
You can still do
pentagon. Is it a pentagon?
No, it's just a rectangle. Is it? I don't know.
I think it only works with 2 digits, doesn't it?
No. I'm pretty sure I tried this with 4x4 because I
So-
got bored one day.
so
So
you
4
you-
digits times 2 digits, or 4 digits times 4 digits. Like it's just big piece
It's just
of paper.
it's a bigger square.
Yeah,
It's a
and then
bigger
you have
rhombus.
You have a crap ton of groups.
Yeah.
I will say this though. The whole thing is moot today because there are calculators.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like teaching someone a methodology of multiplying 2 big numbers really does nothing.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm still sad that kids are not at least doing basic multiplication tables, because I think those are still relevant and very important, like for quick calculations when you're shopping, or, you know, a couple times now that I want to buy something and I get charged more than I should. And I end up going like, are you sure that that's the right price you charged me for? Because when I buy something, I do quick math in my head and I should be like, it's going to be around, you know,
Mhm.
$45, and they're going to charge, and then they charge me 60. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong.
Mhm.
So in those kind of cases, like, I don't want kids growing up like without a little basis in math, and just trust everything, because then they could get cheated, they could get scammed, they could get robbed in ways.
Okay.
But like these 2 different methodologies really don't matter because calculators are a thing.
But it's not like people bust out calculators at the cash or at the register, you know, like even
That's
though they
what
have it there.
because they
just-
are
they just
trusting.
trust, yeah.
They trust that the number that they're being charged is correct,
Mhm.
but that is not always true. And a good practice would be mental math. I think doing mental math is great, a great asset to anybody.
Mhm.
And I would promote that in my math class. Do as much as you can in your head for fun, make it a game. And yeah, you can use your calculator for anything. But you know, when I was teaching a grade 10 class and I have a grade 10 student, a 15-year-old kid asking me to use a calculator for 3 times 2, I get very sad.
The one that comes to mind is the Keegan had this one story of he was tutoring a girl and the mother was in the room, just because, you know, they would drive together for the tutoring session, and then he asked the girl, well, what's 0 times 1? And then the girl didn't know. She looks to the mom, and the mom does this. Like, what?
Yep.
Oh man.
And that's like
HIJKLMN.
OPQ.
Oh, okay.
RST.
I went to fast food place recently this past week, and no simple meal. I don't know, 18 something, 19 something. It was the person in front of me. I wasn't fully paying attention because, yeah, especially people at the register. It's not even when you're a customer at the register and you're worried too that you might be shortchanged or whatever. Hardly anyone pays cash anymore. But for this particular person, decided to pay cash. I don't even think restaurants take cash right now because of COVID. But anyway, she paid cash, and you know, you do the cents. You pay a little bit more so that the change you get back is a little more even, right?
Mhm.
And the person got it wrong. The person at the till made an honest mistake, and it wasn't like trying to cheat this woman who was paying cash, like the example. It was more so like how many of these cash people we're gonna deal with in these fast food places, grocery stores, who just rely on the machine to do everything. And they probably hardly ever have to do math anymore because, again, everything's on credit. You just have to scan it once. Make sure you don't scan it more than once. It does all the math in there. People don't think math when they look at the register or the till anymore. It's just something to scan and then hit total, swipe a card or tap a card, and then that's it, right? And I mean, the woman reacted a little harshly. It's like she was loud. She's like, you gave me, like, he's like, you didn't give me enough change. She's like, I paid you this. And she was just so loud in the restaurant. It didn't have to be, but I could see that the cash register, the cashier, like felt like embarrassed, you know, but it shouldn't have happened at her age too. I think she must have been old enough, like mid-teens or something. Simple enough. It's just subtraction, but it's sad to see. Yeah.
Well, most of the modern tills, like, if you enter how much they paid correctly, it'll spit out exactly how much change to give.
Yeah.
So maybe that cashier put in the wrong.
So what happens is
maybe she did the addition wrong.
You press when you. I remember as being a cashier too. If you press cash and you didn't enter a number, it'll just assume you paid exact. So I think, you know, the total was 1976 or whatever. So she just, oh, you're gonna pay cash? She pressed cash and the till opened, assuming that 1976 cash was paid. She didn't enter 20 something and then
So
cash.
She had to do it.
She had to do the math after because she pressed the button first, and that a lot of tills would do that. It assumes you would punch in how much you're given first and then you press cash. But yeah. So she pressed the button and it opened, and she's like, "Oh, gotta do the math now. I'm on the spot." And unfortunately, it didn't work out.
So like semi-related to this is we have this test to check for dementia, and part of that test is to draw a clock, tell the patient to draw a clock, analog clock, and we tell them a time to draw on it. Now that test is kind of getting out of date because people don't know how to read analog clocks anymore.
Yeah.
They only know how to read digital. So
well, do you think that's an important skill? I mean, it's like a niche. It's a nuance.
Yeah, well, it's a good indicator actually for like neurocognitive disorders, like for dementia and everything. It actually is a really good indicator. So, but yeah, people are forgetting how to actually read analog clocks now, though. So it's getting pretty bad.
I was in grade 5, and everyone has a clock in the classroom, right? But they're all analog. I don't know what they are now. Maybe they're all digital now. And my classmate was like, "Yo, F, what time is it?" I'm like, "Dude, clock's right there." He's like, "Yeah, what time is it?" And I'm like, "You don't know how to read time?" He's like, "Just digital." And I'm like, "Oh, geez." But this was like years ago, right? Whatever. The way he answered it was a little intellectual. I only know how to read digital. Well, like, oh, you know how to read numbers. Oh, okay, because that's what digital is. You're just reading. But anyway. So, I mean, I know that was a thing decades ago already, where people were already stopping to learn analog, but...
If she can't read analog, she's too young, bro.
Well, no, not then. I was grade 5. And he already did it. But then then you get all these like really classic looking watches where they don't even have the hashtags, and it's like I remember as a kid starting to learn analog without the hashtags and the big numbers that labeled, and I remember it wasn't easy for me. I was just
What do you mean hashtags?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, not hashtags, sorry. Hash marks? Hash marks?
Get there? Or do you just mean like the second ticks, or like the minute ticks?
Just the lines on a clock, and then when you get a nice watch, it doesn't have the lines.
Like
it's just
the
the hands,
Oh.
and it's just you have to recognize
okay.
position. You just have to recognize position. So
I see.
I remember
Like,
it was.
Get there?
I keep saying hashtags. I say hashtags all the time.
Hashtags?
When I mean hash marks, I think probably. Or
Hashtag math, hashtag clocks. Barely uses Twitter,
everything's
but
hashtag.
everything is hashtag.
This is
Hashtag.
it's a pound symbol. Why is it called a pound symbol? Anyone? Anyway. Because it became
that's a
hashtag.
bit older than us.
No one knows pound anymore if you hear. But if you're on, press the pound key to return to the main menu, or things like that.
Wait, I'm supposed to pound a key? What? What key do I pound?
Okay, so this is a cool. I think also, cool concept to show kids, but not. I don't think it's practical to try and take up a whole space and draw a picture to do math. In my opinion, when you do the, tens and the hundreds or whatever, and you just do those extra lines underneath, it doesn't take up a lot of room. But when you have to draw a picture every time you have to multiply numbers, I don't know about that.
This is a fun way to do it.
Is it fun?
It's just a different representation, which is cool. It's a cool thing. But the normal way with the zeros and stuff, I mean, we live in a decimal base society, right? It's a base 10. And so it makes sense of each column that you add the zeros in. If you're multiplying like hundreds, you have a hundreds column, right? There's a reason why you have those 2 zeros there, because it represents the hundreds in our decimal system. And it's very logical, and nothing is wrong with it. And it's just for the sake of engagement, we go for something else.
Well,
it's we need a new way to teach this. We need a new way to teach that, and it's got to be fun, and it's got to be eye-catching, and at the same time, we won't mark spelling or anything wrong.
And 2 plus 2 doesn't have to equal 4.
Yeah, 2 plus 2 is it's what, whatever the kid really feels like, that's right, and we're gonna go with that. And
math is racist.
And therefore,
the
kids will be successful anyway, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, like your example where the 2 times 3, and he had to do a calculator for 2 times 3. Like,
yeah, I am not making that up. That happened to me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're not memorizing 2 times 3 though. I get when you're memorizing larger numbers because you don't really think in those larger numbers at a time. But when you're doing 2 times 3, the person who was teaching that kid failed there. Do you, when you were taught multiplication, did you think actually multiplying something a number of times? Did you think about it that way? Or did you look at numbers?
I did.
Right?
I did
2 plus 2 plus 2. 3 plus 3.
Yeah. You think about it in this way.
Yeah.
I don't
so
think
2 times 3 are 3 groups of 2 pairs of 2 of something. There's 3 groups of them. How much are they total?
Yeah,
6
that makes sense. I don't think these 2 methods we saw, obviously again much larger numbers, but they don't think that. I don't think they represent that. It's like shortcuts. It's shortcuts. They do.
So when you say the whole 2 times 3, there's 3 groups of 2, you just went 3 plus 3 or 2 plus 2.
Yeah.
With the whole Common Core method, it shows that it's a very slow way of doing it, but it shows that it breaks it down.
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
This method is exactly what we learned, but in a picture form. Yeah, because you know how we have to shift numbers over in that second line that we would do.
Yeah.
There's no shifting here. It's
There's
all
decimals.
straight in line.
Well, I mean, there's still decimal points here, and if you did 3 digits, it'd be 3 groupings, and it'd be like a 9 or what. Anyway.
Regardless, in the end, as long as kids have a system to go by, and they've practiced it enough, they will not fail. I think a lot of the failure comes from not practicing it. One of the things I end up telling some kids, especially if they play sports, the reason they're good at hockey, the reason they're good at basketball is because they put the time into grind it out. How much time did you grind into math? Doing arithmetic, just mentally. How many times were you racing your friends in grade 3, grade 4 just to get math problems in? We raced that because it was fun. You put the repetitions in to get used
around
to
the world where you got to do multiplications and you're facing your classmate and it's
whatever game, whatever system it was. For me, it was just racing everyone else. And the reason we were decent at it is because we put the reps in. The kids nowadays, because they have these I don't know if you put it or blame it on slower methods of doing the work, but if they're not putting the reps in, they're never gonna get it. The reason it's nice for us is because it's more or less natural at this point because we've done it so many times.
But I guess, is it also to blame then that they're not being pushed to do these reps?
Also,
is it not in the curriculum to do reps? Like
probably not.
So that's back to my point where the first method is the easiest. It makes the most sense, and it takes up the least amount of paper.
Mm-hmm.
The most efficient. You just have to practice, and you'll get it. So, why are these other methods coming out? Like, it does not. They're not efficient. They're not practical. Like 32 times 12, okay, cool. Like you could show that in a nice little area, but you get into bigger numbers, you waste a whole sheet of paper. You take forever.
One question.
You take forever. You're drawing a bunch of you're drawing hundreds of lines, hundreds of dots for one. Fuck that. It's so stupid. It's like it makes no sense. This is something I would demo for a class. In like 10 minutes, I'll show them a Japanese video or whatever and be like, isn't that cool? That's really cool.
After they've already learned the basic?
Or even before.
Or before?
Yeah, and I could give them the thing too. Like, hey, look, if you ever really want to do this for bigger numbers, go ahead. You'll see that it works. On a test, I don't know if you should choose this method because you may use half of your test time doing one question.
Yeah, no, this is the same concept in even like coaching and in sports. Like you can see somebody with like awkward technique doing something, like say in basketball, they're consistently pushed like chest passing a ball into the net. And they can do it all the time. But obviously there's more efficient ways, right? Because this is easy to block for somebody else. The reason people shoot up here is because, you can get over somebody when they're trying to block you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good that people have their methods and they know it works. They have like a fallback, but I think it's just as important to make sure they understand the inefficiencies of their methods. Not to say, the Japanese one, like, fuck, that looks like so much fun. just
it does.
Do and
I want to just see it work.
Like just to try it. Yeah. You just want to try it and make sure it works. I think it's good to show that there are other methods to get the same
used, though. A lot of graphite and paper.
That's the fun of it, man. Get like a big whiteboard and do like
numbers. If it's on like an iPad, I guess you don't use a lot of paper. You can just draw it.
You can zoom out
on iPad. You can zoom out. Yeah. Mike says, as a visual learner, I would have liked to learn it that way. Mike posed a question though. Would you have liked to just rely on that way and not learn the basic way we learned, or would you have wanted to do that in real life? And we have Tegu wants smoke. Says, chill, I'm Asian. All right.
Now, I would want to make sure that there's other methods shown because this is a fun way. The Common Core method, I think it sets up people for learning mental math because, personally, that's the way I do it in my head. I don't know. As long as there's other ways to show how things are done. Because once you get up into high school, physics, chemistry, there's so many different methods to calculating things and still arrive at the same answer. Like there's not necessarily the one correct way. Like how you present it is always going to be slightly different from somebody else. Yes, there's equations to follow, but there's never just like the one absolutely correct way. Like you might show it little differently. You might have gone through the algebra in a few different steps.
Mm-hmm. Question for everyone is when you have to multiply something by fives, what do you guys do in your head? If it was easier for me, I'd stick with it.
It's kind of memorized, right?
Like if you do 57 times 5, how would you do that?
The Common Core method?
5 times 50 plus 5 times 7.
Yeah. Common Core method.
Would you do that? Is that how everyone does?
285? Is it 285? Are we good? No.
Wait.
We're at 285, right? 50 times 5 is 250 plus 35.
Correct.
Yeah, what is the Common Core method?
So what I do with
you say it's Common Core, but it's not. You're not adding 4 numbers.
Not one. No, I'm not. I'm doing 50 times 5 plus 5 times 7.
Well, it's 3 of those. It's 3 of that box. If it was 50 times 57, I guess you just add a 0 at the end.
Because in the way we learned as kids, we start with the ones units or the ones place and then move over. If I'm doing it mentally, I start with the furthest number over. So if I'm given like 300 times 60, I'm going to start with the 300 times 60 first.
Yeah.
And then work my way down.
Yeah.
Well, I asked that specifically with 5 because I wish someone maybe like taught me this.
Times 10 divided by 2?
Divide by 2 first and then just add a 0. Yeah. I would just half it and then add a 0 because
that's another way
it's
too.
So fast. you don't have to think. You don't have to
have
think
you seen
in digits.
No, that's kind of blowing my mind. I never knew that.
Have you seen the 11 trick?
The 11 trick? Oh, like is it
32 times 11 is 352?
Yeah, the 2 numbers in the middle, and then the outside numbers stay.
And then the 12 trick would be the 11 trick plus another one.
Plus another.
Like 32 times 12, you do 350. Well, 352 plus another 32.
And then another. Yeah, true.
Those are tricks I show some students if they're really curious.
I just never. Yeah, 11s and 12s in real life, I guess. I mean, I don't know. But 5s, I remember specifically because my favorite number was 5. I was like, why didn't everyone just teach me to do that younger? Half it and times 10. Half it times 10. Because it's easy to half a number, any number. Right? When you guys just said the 35 and then 7, 5, and then you add them, I was like, I had to think about that because I never do that. You guys learn any tricks though, like that? Math-wise?
11s, 12s, the 9 trick with your fingers.
The 9 trick, yeah.
Yeah, the finger thing is fun. I learned that late, like really
9,
late. But
18,
cool.
27, because there's 2 here and 7 here.
Yeah.
Right, so there's 0 and 9, 1 and 8, 2 and 7, 3 and 6, 4 and 5, 5 and 4, 6 and 3.
It's cool.
Yeah, that was a neat one to learn. But I learned that one like I was an adult already. And I was like, wow, that's really cool.
What is the Chinese way? Those kids that do like the whole like are they like tapping?
No idea. It looks weird. It looks crazy.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Is it like abacus? Abacus type of thing?
I think it's like mental abacus stuff. Because I know you can calculate very quickly with an abacus, but I have no idea.
I don't even know how to use an abacus.
I don't know either. There's
I don't
like it's very powerful, apparently.
Yeah.
What is so Kyle mentioned this. You mentioned like we were on are we on a 10 base number system?
Yes, base 10 decimal.
What is
base 10?
What is the more efficient way? I heard there's like a 12 base system that makes more sense.
Is that hex?
Well, if you're talking about computer language, like if you took CS courses and stuff, you learn about hexadecimal, which is
16.
It's 16. It goes to. That's why you see these codes that have numbers and letters in it, but the letters only are from like AF.
G, right?
Yeah. What?
Oh no, F. It is F. Yeah, A B C D E F. Yeah, 16. Right.
Yeah. 0, 9. Yeah, 0, 9, and then 8F. Yeah.
Is it? Well, what do you mean efficient then, Warr?
I can't remember what video I saw, but they were talking about it didn't have to do with programming. There was like ancient civilizations that didn't use base 10. They used like 11 or 12.
I think this is ringing a bell. It was a different base. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Was it 8?
I don't know.
And why?
Yeah,
Did they say why?
I can't remember. It was a long time ago that I came across this video.
I remember why.
But there were some other older civilizations
They
that
didn't have thumbs.
use. They didn't use 10. I think they used 11 because it included 0 or something like that. Or they used 9 and didn't include 0. Oh my god, there's this one where it's base 27 where they count their body parts.
Whoa.
That's crazy, man.
Body
Base
parts.
6.
Well, I mean, you got 10 fingers, 10 toes. And there's plus 7.
I think for us, base 10 just is good. It's a good base. We have 10 digits in our number system. It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's globally accepted and it works.
But yeah, I mean, if humanity worked off of a different base, it would be normal to us, which is kind of cool to think.
Mm-hmm.
and we would look at something like decimal and be like, oh, these crazy idiots with their base 10. Stupid people.
I guess I never really considered thinking outside of base 10. It doesn't make sense to me. I can't.
Yeah,
It's
my brain
difficult to
can't comprehend
grasp.
it.
Yeah, like it's simple. When you multiply things by 0, it's 0. It's easy. That's where you should start things.
I
At
mean,
the 0.
America should switch to the metric system. It's kind of annoying.
I 100% agree.
What's up with that? Are they the only ones left? No.
No, UK has some elements of it too.
UK still.
And they really should rename football to something else and call soccer football.
It should be
like the
called.
rest of the
It should
world.
be called tackle ball because that's what they do.
Yeah, tackle
I
ball,
Or
throw
throw ball.
air ball.
I
Catch
recently
ball.
learned that the CFL field is totally different from.
Yeah, it's different.
Yes,
It's different
yes.
from
I had
NFL.
no idea. I just thought it was the difference of 3 downs to 4 downs.
No,
One
I think
uses
it's
yards,
twice
one
the
uses
size.
feet.
Wait, what?
Sorry,
The
one
end
uses
zone's
yards,
bigger.
one uses meters.
No,
The end zone's bigger.
I think they're
it's
both
110
yards. They're both
it's 110
yards.
yards, and it's a wider playing area.
Wait, it's 110? End zone to end zone in CFL?
Supposedly.
I thought it was still 100, but the end zone's bigger by like another 10.
Yeah, the end zone's bigger from what I remember. For Canadian football.
Maybe it's narrower? Maybe it's
No,
narrower.
Canadian's wider.
Oh, wider.
Yeah,
Like-
Canadian has a bigger play area,
Yeah.
Right.
longer and wider,
And one less down.
and one less down. So that's why it's so much slower of a game, and that's why people get so much more drunk. There's less time. There's more time to get drunk.
Yeah.
All right. So thoughts on cursive writing? If it's
Oh right, they don't teach that no more.
They don't teach it no more?
No.
I think cursive is a good thing
I think it's a good thing.
because your pen never really has to leave the paper. It's more fun. However,
I still write cursive.
I don't quite remember why, but I guess yeah, writing letters was super fast when you got older, I guess. But now everyone types, so
There's no need for it.
there's no need for writing anymore. Oh yeah, this too.
yeah, like now you don't have to teach writing at all. Like if people
Or printing either. Not
people
even printing.
see once they know what letters look like and numbers look like, they don't really have to practice writing. But
Well, like for
I
studying,
mean, they should do it.
writing is so good for studying. The brain-hand connection is like, it helps it stick better in your brain. Like that's why it's
Oh.
better to write notes than type notes. You learn it better.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know?
But
Yeah.
sadly, what happened with me was my handwriting got so bad, and when I'm trying to take notes quickly,
Can't read
it
your
doesn't
notes
work.
after.
So, yeah, a lot of times in university, I would go back to my notes and be like, I have no idea what I just wrote.
Like
This sucks.
if you go to like any med school, you'll see that everyone writes like, you know, their review notes and everything is all handwritten. You don't really see people type your review notes.
I was getting into that end of university where even though I was typing out notes, when it came down to studying for like exams, I would look at my notes and rewrite them by hand. Even though I
Yeah.
was writing it twice, it
Yeah.
did.
Wow. Never did
It's
that.
I mean, that's pretty much proven. Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
can't disagree with that. Like, and it's also saying it too. There's,
Yeah.
you can read it as much as you want, but if you write it and if you say it,
Yeah.
it'll stick way better.
Yeah.
I should have
Yeah,
done that.
I'm,
I was
for me,
cheap and didn't want to waste paper.
No, that's fair. I mean, and now you can write on tablets.
Oh, true.
Yeah, yeah. So you get the motion, you get the hand motion.
And it can speak it to you after you write it.
you could just trace you could trace your own note. So like you just write over your exact note.
Something happens when you engage your brain that much more because okay, so you think about like when you're just like mindlessly eating food, like yeah, it tastes good, yeah, it's going in your stomach. But one of the examples this guy gave me, and we were talking about like he was helping me through some stuff, and he's like, "Yo, go grab something to eat. Now don't eat it. I want you to look at it. I want you to use all your senses. Look at it, sniff it, see what it smells like, feel it, really get the texture of it. Think about what it's gonna feel like in your mouth." Obviously, well, can you really hear it though? Think about what it's gonna sound like when you take a bite into it. And then when I bit into the grape or I start eating the grape, I'm like, yo, this grape tastes awesome. He's like, yeah, it's just, you know, because you're engaging your brain to really think about what it's gonna feel like and taste like. Like you enjoy things a lot more. You'll enjoy your food a lot more when you have that appreciation for all your senses. And I feel like the same thing happens when you're studying. Like if you're writing things down, because your brain's so engaged with what you're writing and knowing what you have to write down, that's, for me at least, it feels like that's why it sticks better. It's like
the appreciation.
Yeah, you have the appreciation of what you're reading and you have to write it. So you think about it, you're going through your material twice.
Yeah.
Well, what you just described is mindfulness 101.
Yeah.
Like if you ever took a mindfulness or you watched a video on it or you took a course, that's like the first thing they walk you through.
Yeah.
Never took a course on that stuff.
Yeah, we call it grounding for therapy, like as a grounding technique if you're doing any kind of like anxiety work or anything like that.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
Dede says he never learned cursive and cannot write, but he has chicken scratch writing, so it's somewhat similar.
But he can also write Korean characters.
He can write Korean.
Right? Is there cursive Korean letters?
It wouldn't be cursive, but
I don't think so.
Can you imagine? It starts looking like Thai. Oh my god, Dede, you can write Thai?
Writing it down helps learning 20,000%. He can confirm. My Korean is also chicken scratch writing.
You're technically a doctor in Korean and English. Shots fired at Paul. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Mr. Chicken Scratch.
Does anyone else know new stuff in school now, or like has been exposed to stuff we haven't? Like the only other thing I can think of, but it's not really controversial or anything, is just physics is new. Physics is different now than it was when I was learning it. Like atomic theory, you know, proton, neutron, electron. That's all we had. 3 particles.
That sounds like chemistry.
You didn't have like you've had like
chem,
FMA, like force equals mass times acceleration and all that.
Yeah, but now they have more particles. It's not just 3 particles, right?
Oh, see, I don't know that.
Oh yeah, you're getting into alpha, beta, gamma, and radiation stuff.
Oh, I mean like Higgs boson and like.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
That was
like
relatively discovered like when I was in university. Yeah, when we were
and quarks, right? They're learning it though. That's what they learn now. It's not just proton, electron.
I learned about quarks in grade 12.
Oh yeah,
I don't.
Was it just did it start of my generation then? Because that was in our textbooks.
Wait, are you and Paul? Who's younger? Are you the same age?
Paul's younger by 2 years.
By 2. So then Paul should have learned quarks then. I definitely did not learn about quarks or Higgs.
I didn't learn quarks. I don't remember those.
But yeah, alpha, beta, gamma, all the that we touched on that, but it wasn't in physics. It was just radiation.
No, I haven't seen a whole lot of difference in physics. Oh, actually, I haven't had a whole lot of grade 12 physics to teach. Kind of miss it. Grade 11 though, it's pretty straightforward stuff. But then again, I'm also out in Alberta, so I don't know if it's any easier or harder in Ontario.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they teach different in bio.
All I do know is these kids don't know their math. Yo, simple algebra things, like real. If I have 3x plus 2 equals 5, what is x? I don't know. Do I subtract the 3? Oh, no, that's multiplication, dog.
Isolating x. Quantum theory, electron clouds. Churn. Chem and physics mix up sometimes. That's what Mike said. Well, yeah, algebra, like. What's necessary now? Do you? I mean, yeah. Multiplication tables, we agree. Obviously, addition, subtraction, division is in there too. Bed mass, I guess. Bed mass. I mean, it's still pertinent. It's still pertinent in some sort of calculations at some point.
That's still necessity, just like multiplication tables.
Yeah, agreed.
But like, you know,
they don't get it though. They don't get it, and I think it comes down to just the engagement, and it comes down to the mindfulness, the callback. Just some of the kids don't have the engagement. They just don't want to.
Do you
it's
think
not like every kid goes through it? It's just select ones.
Yeah, there's some kids who like that stuff and want to, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like who enjoy that level of extra, I don't know, information available to them. Now, should it still be like at what point should things like that be still requirement? You know, like I'm learning there's like early childhood education there. It's not evaluation or like right wrong. It's like learning through play, learning through experience. You know, so they play games, and in the midst of these games or the things that they play, things get introduced to them, and there is no evaluation, right? So there's very little pressure. Do you think?
Yeah, my two teacher friends, they're fully on that side of it, and I always like these huge debates with them because they basically say like, you know, if you don't like math, you don't. Why do you have to do math? Just don't. Just go do something that's fun. And then I can't really argue, except I you know, other examples of like later on in life when you kind of need math.
Well,
and then their counter would be, well, you don't really need the math. You could you go get somebody else to help you with your task. You get somebody else to help you with whatever problems you have.
Smartphone.
My argument, you know, against them is like, wouldn't you want the kid to have all the tools so they could open up all the doors rather than just be limited as to like, you know, what if later in life they're like, man, I wish I was an engineer or something, you know, like, but now it's like, oh, I didn't really pick up math in the beginning because I thought it was boring at the time, you know, like you want the kid to have at least the baseline set of skills so that they could like open as many doors as possible.
I'm with you. So
when you give a kid a choice to not do it, they've closed doors on themselves already. And on top of that, the whole like brain development. Isn't there a certain side of your brain you want to develop, and that logical side, a certain side?
Well, okay, Mike's asking, were they talking more about advanced math, or was it still like basics?
No, they're talking like young kids too who learn to play, but then continue that model throughout the whole like high school. Like so you basically only can if you want to just focus on one thing, you can play and you can learn and you put all your effort into like filmmaking. So you know, they did have good points. So a child who is pretty young is not quote wasting time with other things that they don't like.
I mean, prodigies are like that.
They're just researching how to make films because that is what they're interested in. They're learning about camera angles. They're learning about lighting. They're learning about music, and they can get into that at a very young age, without quote wasting time on resources on other things that they don't like. However, I do feel strongly that math is one of the really important foundations that everyone should at least have, like basics of math, and just numbers and the importance of numbers, because you can't escape numbers. The world revolves around money. Your life revolves around money, so you're gonna have to deal with numbers, and if you just know nothing about them, it's very dangerous to me. But I guess
to what level does basic no longer basic, like derivatives? Or is like you're saying basic algebra still being able to isolate variables, I guess, but you know,
not really, just the concept of earn and spend and budget and like concepts around numbers. When you buy something, you get change, estimating how much a project is going to cost. You know,
so
just,
life
like there's so many things that you need math for.
You know, a good point a good basic point right now, or where most schools should be, or I think they are, is up to like grade 10 or 11 math. The fact that they offer like the whole workplace, college level, and university level. In all those levels, at least from what I see here, they get to a point where they start talking about credit cards, understanding interest, and understanding paying bills. Like that's really good skills to have. And then the other part of it is understanding basic functions and relationships. So think of like your linear graphs and your linear equations, parabolas and quadratics, because even understanding relationships as one thing grows, you know, like you increase x, y increases, or you increase x, y decreases. Understanding trends and
Yeah, but
things of that
Sakatoa,
nature.
do you need to know Sakatoa?
Those turn into just like brain development and understanding how to solve a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, like you know, if you want to be an architect or you know, in certain sort of things, you actually have to know that sort of stuff for structural integrity,
Geometry. Okay, yeah.
geometry, and then if you're looking at like, you know, if you want to work, there's so many jobs that revolve around math that like I think needs to be marketed better. You know, STEM needs to be marketed better to kids. Like, hey, you want to work for Tesla, you want to do something like that, you want to talk about like, you know, rocket ships, engineering, and all that stuff. You know, that could be definitely marketed better. Stock market, you know, how much money you can make, all that stuff.
Well, I do think basic finance should be taught in like elementary. Like it should be introduced to like grade 7. But hopefully it is now. Apparently, I think Michaela said the other time they are starting to touch on like basic finance in younger grades, which is good. I don't know if all schools are doing that, but like debt and credit cards for sure should be introduced. And I get it. I agree with what Kyle said for sure. If it's related to everyday life function, yes, then that's the kind of math definitely that you want to at least have the basics of. But yeah, it's when you're getting to like, you know, derivatives and like, you know, determining the volume or area of a cylinder or a cone. Right, and what is the opposite again? Integrals.
So at that point in time in high school, I would say that it should be totally fine not to take those courses if you don't want.
Right.
My one point was more towards Paul's point of keeping your doors open. And I believe that school, all the way up to high school, we are trying to expose you students to as many things as possible.
Yeah.
So that you can see something and say, "Ooh, I like this." You know, yes, a lot of us like gym. But like
I like recess.
A lot of us like drama. A lot of us like geography. Like maybe a few of us really like geography. Maybe history. A few really like history. Maybe a few really like art. But the point is to expose students to everything so that they can find something that they want to excel at past high school.
Yeah.
And the only reason why everything is being graded and that you should try in every subject is to prove that you have the ability to learn. You have the ability to try. You have the ability to take in information, make sense of it, and then
critical thinking.
Right, exactly. So think on your own, solve some problems, show us that you can do this, and you will do very well.
Yeah, the transferable skills, soft skills, all that comes from what you just said. Like that's exactly it.
So I would tell students who like hate my subject, like I'm teaching math and they just hate math and they love these other subjects. I tell them this and they kind of quiet down because they're like, "Oh, okay." They say, "Oh," or at least for the most part that I've seen, they didn't think of it like that. And so when you tell them and reassure them that, yes, look, I understand that you don't like this math. And I understand that after high school, you may never do math again. And I tell them about my friend who like dropped out of math after grade 10. And he is one of the major editors of like Vikings and, you know, like these big shows and, you know, very proud of him. And that is a great example. Like he went into film. He doesn't need math. Or at least that level of math. You still use basic math even in editing. You're editing in seconds, you're editing in frames, you're editing in time and length and dimensions of screens. And, you know, so I start spitting all this other stuff out. And then, you know,
you still got to do your taxes and you're getting paid and you still got to do all that shit too.
Yeah, like that's always my point too. You can't escape math. It's always there. It's always there. It doesn't matter where you try to escape from. The basics of math are always going to be in your life somewhere.
Yeah, you own a car, it's like, oh damn, I gotta pay for gas. What's the gas prices like?
And you know what? When Warren said linear functions in real life, a really good linear function is your expenses that you pay every month. You could graph it out. You could graph out how much money you spend on and that's just another addition to the variable in your function. Your linear function is gas prices, insurance, rent, food, and you got this function that shows your your income versus expenses,
Expenditures.
and you could plan out, you know, your financial life in a function.
The easy linear function that'll get kids' eyes open is just like, how much you getting paid? 15 bucks an hour? We'll look at the rate of pay on mine. Do you see the slope of my graph? My slope is twice as high as yours.
Linear function thing is
one of my proud moments of like algebra to one kid, because the minute he saw letters in any kind of equation, like I gave him an easy one. I'm like, yo, what's if I gave you 2 + x = 5, what's x? He's like, I guess it's 3. I had the dumb example of, I'm like, dog, how do you make a pickaxe in Minecraft? If I have like 2 birch planks and 2 sticks, how do I make a pickaxe? What do I need? Well, duh, you need 1 more. I'm like, how did you figure that out? It's like, oh, I see what you're getting at. It's what's missing. I get it.
So instead of 2 + x, it's 2 + shaft. 2 + wood.
Kid just needed a different way to understand the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
when
intimidating.
You can games, you're in.
When I was in high school and I was tutoring these kids, like the way to get to them to like learn that stuff was like look at the NBA, like look at stats, points per game, steals per game, assists per game, and you know, kind of work it out that way.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, yeah, like what do you think 20 points per game stood for? Like, you know, like how do you know how good a player is?
Hockey kids, when it came down to ratios and understanding it, I don't get ratios. Okay, what happens when somebody goes to the penalty box? How many people on one side, how many people on the other? It's 5-4. Oh yeah, that's a ratio.
Kind of. I get you there. I got you there, but
yeah,
I like it. I like it.
About it. But whatever works to get them to see it in a different way, instead of just seeing numbers, instead of just seeing letters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you get them thinking about something relatable.
Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. Hockey kids in physics talk about transfer of momentum. What happens when you body check somebody?
Well, pool is a good one for angular.
A lot of physics in hockey for sure. There's a lot of coefficient of friction in hockey.
I mean, assuming no friction.
Hold on. What did Data here? For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree.
That's based off of Einstein's quote. That's directly from Einstein's quote, which is if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it would spend its entire life believing it's stupid.
Yeah,
that's the Einstein quote.
Showed that. So okay.
I mean, looking back to what we first watched, I'm like, does changing the song change the after effects of how they learn the letters? Not really. Somebody said it earlier. It's just really the tradition of it, and just it sounds bad. That's all.
I don't like now that to know that you guys were introduced to the song first rather than the letters. I don't remember myself, but I'm saying like seeing from my niece sing the song, she doesn't know what she's singing. Like a lot of time, actually, I mean that happens now. As an adult, when we hear a new song and we're trying to sing along, and then we make up those syllables that we don't know. You know, we just make it up. We don't know the lyrics, so.
Yeah, I think that's actually true. I think I learned the alphabet from a book, though. I learned a lot of things from books because, like, in the book, you could see like A, and then a picture of like an apple, and then
a big A and a small
A. Yeah, like, and I did that. Yeah, and I learned a lot of stuff from like,
songs you remember a lot better. Like I could remember songs from like the 2000s, and if you ask me to remember like an important like chemical equation or something that like I'll never remember, like the Krebs cycle. Like the Krebs cycle is like this big thing. I won't remember
unless they made a song.
Yeah.
You should make a Krebs cycle song.
Yeah.
Oh, quick,
I'm sure someone made a song to the quadratic equation.
Probably. Yeah, I'm sure.
I can't.
Question though for Paul, sort of kind of related, but like I was watching a basic introduction to dialectical behavioral therapy.
Okay.
And I want to hear from you. what does dialectical mean?
So dialectical means two, right? So you got your logical mind and your emotional mind, and put them both together, you got your wise mind, and that's dialectical.
Dialectical means two.
Yeah.
So So, I mean, it's not that I doubt it. You're obviously certified, and you know it way more than I do. When I heard the word dialectical, and then you think about the opposite, which is cognitive. So I think cognition is like recognizing things that's in your head, and then dialectical is talking things out, like dialect. But I guess that's wrong.
Is that? I mean, well, dialectical behavioral therapy is pretty much CBT. It's a cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive is not just in your head. The whole entire thing is cognitive behavioral, because you have to insert it into your behaviors,
right?
And how things work. And that's what dialectical behavioral is. You're trying to communicate your emotional mind and your logical mind put together into a wise mind that you're able to communicate into your situation or into how things have been like treating you or how you feel about things, and communicating it to the world.
So the video that I saw explained dialectical as two things that contradict each other. And I guess that kind of
emotional versus the logical.
And their example was, it's like to remind you that you are, acknowledge that you are doing everything you can, but you need to do more. That's what they said as the example of why it's called dialectical. To acknowledge that you are doing everything that you can, but you need to do more. Which is like,
so like people who go through DBTs, because like they usually have a lot of self-esteem things going on.
Yeah.
People who are recommended for DBT are people with borderline personality who usually have a lot of history of trauma. So there's a lot of self-esteem issues involved with that. So a lot of times when the reason why dialectical behavioral therapy is good is because it acknowledges, like, you have to acknowledge your feelings as valid. You know, a lot of people say, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be feeling like, no, like you feel however you feel.
Yeah, right.
And you have to translate that. So there's a lot of internal conflict. So it's all about kind of like fixing that internal conflict and making it fit into the world and communicating it. Okay. So that's why it's a lot of doing more, a little extra. So
thank you. So I want to, from that, why don't they teach that in school or like at
they
kids?
Should. No,
like
we actually make this a thing where we're just like, they should be teaching this like starting in the 4th
so
grade.
Like grade. Yeah. When emotions
yeah.
become a thing and tantrums become a thing. I don't get it.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure.
Maybe answer.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, teachers are not qualified really.
Yeah.
In this space.
Yeah.
Unless you now make teachers college include this stuff, which is wise. I would have loved to learn about this stuff. But maybe that's what should happen.
Like, is it a specialization? Do you think that it's a difficult? I don't necessarily think the concepts are. It's behavioral. It's conflict resolution.
It could easily be taught. I think anyone can really teach it. It's a practice though. It's one thing to teach it, but it's something that they have to keep practicing in order to get better at.
Yeah.
So
teachers even getting emotions out of children in words is very hard. A lot of times. Not many kids are very open with their emotions, especially if there's trauma involved. So those are the edge cases, obviously the minority. But even like the normal kids, like they have to really trust you.
And it's a lot of cultural stuff too. There are cultures that are much more reserved. You're not supposed to show any emotion.
True too.
So do you think maybe parents should be trained that when they have new kids? It should be taught to them at like
100%.
at the hospital.
I think this is such a important skill. Like you see it all the time now. Like I'm seeing such a huge rise on self-cutters. Like there's such a huge rise, and that's like usually a big sign of borderline personality is the self-cutting, borderline personality disorder. So if everyone knew DBT, we'd probably have a decrease in that.
I did self-harm too. It was crazy. I didn't quite see. I rationalized it on my own then, And then when finally going through and understanding what I was doing, I'm like, oh geez, yeah, that's so stupid. Like, but you don't see it. You know, it's
no,
like, yeah.
It's you were halfway there. The other half is just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know, translating it. And yeah, the tough part is it is a practice. It's not like, it's more like an actual like exercise thing rather than just like throwing it on a chalkboard or whatever. It's something that they have to keep practicing as if it was like a sport, you know, in order to get good at this sort of thing. Like,
yeah,
you know, so it's a long-term process, but it definitely, like, if you talk to anyone, they like any psychiatrist or child specialist, they're just like, this should be taught in middle school. Like, this 100% should be taught in middle school. But yeah, for sure.
Oh, I just came up with another, question to pose: should they teach or not in school? Is creation story versus evolution, or should it be in school?
Oh God, I mean, evolution should be taught. It's science.
Well, I mean, because we know who we are, obviously we stand for that. But like the Catholic school system, it's gonna be the creation story, you know? Like
that's a touchy one. I don't even want to try.
So this is recorded, right? So like, you know, I'm just worried I'm not gonna see this or something, you know, my Catholic family. But like,
why? What you trying to hide, huh? I'm just kidding.
That I have questions of faith all the time, man. Like, I hear the saddest shit at work, and when people say this is God's plan, I think that's the stupidest thing ever. Because I think this is a very shitty plan. If this is God's plan for someone to go through whatever the, you know, early abuse and neglect, for what? What benefit? Like, oh, so they could turn to God, or that's very cruel. Like, or that it's supposed to somehow teach me a lesson that they got abused. That's cruel. So I'm this whole
I hear you, man. Mike says you still learn evolution in Catholic. Yes, you do, but the church won't really what's the word, support it in the same way. Like, you know, where does man come from and woman, like from the rib. Like, I remember my evolution class, the first class, the prof emphasized that evolution has nothing to say about religion. What class is that, Mike, and what grade were you in? If you learn about evolution in a Catholic school, I'm guessing this was high school and it was probably biology. Or no, maybe geography, archaeology, biology. I mean, you touch on that too. In grade 9, you have to do geography, and then it was like you start touching on like archaeology there too, evolution in university. Well, how's that Catholic?
No, I remember being taught evolution in university.
Yeah, but that's not Catholic.
Sorry, in Catholic school.
In high school, I remember learning starting to touch on evolution. Well, when we talked about grade 8, I guess, when it was like Leonardo da Vinci or something, or like when you started to see Darwinism. Yeah, Darwin was another one. That was grade 8, I think.
No, we learned evolution. Yeah, because like mitochondria pretty much was pretty much its own kind of organism before it got swallowed up, and now we have like the basic cell, and there was like this whole thing. I remember learning something along those lines.
Right, amoebas.
Yeah.
And then that we come from apes, and then people deny that we come from apes. We're not.
I can't remember ever touching evolution. Like, I think when it came to any religion or philosophy or history or social studies class, I'm just like, I'm out. I'll do what I can to get 80s. I'm like, I don't really care. Give me back the numbers. Give me back my shapes and geometry.
Transubstantiation.
No, but let's look at like...
That's a big word. Stop. I don't even know what that means.
When you think about prodigies, though, that start from a very young age where they do specialize right away, when you see that talent or that passion or interest level at such a young age, they put all the resources towards that. So then, yeah, they don't put like... Maybe they still homeschool so they can get the basic certifications, like a diploma or whatever it is, to get the paperwork behind them. But like, yeah, you look at like Jacob Collier, like that guy, the super young music guy now, who's like, I don't know, he got a Grammy at like 16 or something. I don't know. He was ridiculous. But like, I would say that I don't shun that. I don't think it's necessary to have to put, you know,
Get there.
I know. No, dude, I'm old and I suck. So like in school, you're going to get all these kids who are going to pose interest in certain directions. And you say as teachers, you're supposed to expose them to as much as you can. But it's not been. And with the new opportunities now in the world, teachers in school, the school system aren't introducing anymore. Maybe a little bit more with tech, if you're going to have design and tech in class now that they have design and tech in subjects, but they don't. It's been a little archaic in terms of what you get introduced to in school, profession-wise, or at least, you know, like how
you probably get like one course offered in a certain specialty. But yeah, I mean, they can't. It's hard to offer very niche subjects, like let's say veterinary, right? Like you're not gonna find a high school course on vets, sadly. I'm thinking of other like kind of strange ones, but are really cool.
like, I'm thinking like chef, you know, if you want to be like a crazy chef.
There are cooking courses in high schools. It depends on the high school.
So I pose this question. Girls on OnlyFans make a lot of money.
They do. Not even OnlyFans, just in Twitch.
Yeah.
And they know too the value of what they are selling. They know their product, right? And I acknowledge the fact that they understand it's successful and it's paying their bills, and more so, it's bringing them wealth. But then at what point is it like
high school is like
kind of teach that in high school?
Well, you don't teach that in high school. You just see it when you go home.
You promote this. I mean, it's a business model that can work, I guess, if you got it, flaunt it, kind of thing. But
there are repercussions and risks to it.
Yeah, like selling sexuality just doesn't belong in school. If you learn about it from friends or whatever and think you should pursue that, then that's how they're doing it now. So let that happen. That's not going to be a course.
Okay, what about gaming? Then not even that, but just playing games.
So gaming there are courses in college
or university. Yeah.
In terms of high school, I don't know if there's a high school course on competitive gaming. I don't think there ever will be one.
There's college courses in competitive gaming?
Yeah, there are like people get scholarships for gaming. Like there are SC2 teams in universities. This has been around since we were in university.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
But you think about like, are we talking about like high school courses and niche courses in high school? Like you think about elementary and high school, like because it's such an early stage in someone's life, like those should be times to just develop the brain in any kind of way possible, so that you're not just catering to the logical side of your brain. You're not just catering to the creative side. Obviously, there's going to be kids that hate one side or the other, or they hate certain courses. But at a young age, it's important to learn some level of discipline and, you know, accomplishing goals, or at least, you know, we've kind of talked about this before, kind of what Dan said before. Like we kind of touched on this last time, that it is important to finish high school because there is some transferable skills. There are like a lot of just soft skills to learn and understand, so that when you do get into the workforce or after high school, you can take those soft skills and make use of them.
You should complete high school also because like in the long term, like it affects mental health a lot. Like it's statistically speaking, those with higher mental health problems tend to not finish high school. They never finished high school, or even like early onset dementias and stuff can be seen in people who don't complete high school. Like you want to build up a base certain level of intelligence or knowledge in your brain to build those connections.
Is that more so interpersonal skills though, or is that really the subject matter that's being learned? Is it
even subject matter, like just in general, like if you know more knowledge that you pick up pretty much over life and you're building those neural connections, it helps prevent dementia.
Like I'm thinking about now child actors, like, you know, the Macaulay Culkins and the guy who played Sixth Sense. Like when they're such big stars young, and obviously they're gonna get a lot of work as they are kids, and I guess it's a lot of memorization, and there's creative there because you gotta act. So there's skills in that, and you specialize now in acting as you grow up, you would think, you know, but you're not going to learn math and science. And
but they're learning how to play particular roles. It's more depth into it, you know. It's not just math and science. They're learning timing of their speech. They're learning the different prosody. They're learning the you know, movements, muscle movements, the theme, the understanding the story of the characters, and they have to get into like all of that. So it's a different, more depth in different ways.
Yeah, I think the problem arises in stars when you give a young person a lot of money and fame, and then you see them struggle in the social aspect of life, because who's a friend really? Or do they just want to be friends with someone famous?
Right.
And you end up paying, like, it's often very tragic because you feel like you can't trust anybody, but you're super rich and everybody knows you, and you don't really feel like you have any friends. And then you know, substance abuse can come into play because because of circumstances. Yeah, very accessible, but you're struggling, so
you're isolated. Like,
and it's very easy to get prescription meds, let's say, when you're rich and famous, even if you're not like diagnosed with anything, let's say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You can just 100%. Get them, right?
There's a lot of unscrupulous doctors and psychiatrists out there.
Yeah, exactly. There's a reason why it's a $500 billion a year industry.
Yeah.
No, but how much can you really attribute to the success of like young prodigies to? Is it really something they chose and they knew what what their calling was at such a young age, or is that really just parents or whatever the parental figure or like mentor figure at that age drove them in that direction? You know, like
it's a combination of everything, even luck. Like, so a lot of times people are going to be athletes, like great athletes in high school, they're prodigies. Then they get to the next level and they're just as good as everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, like you're a high school prodigy, you get to the NCAA and you're a scrub.
Yeah.
Or people in the NCAA who are prodigies, #1 draft pick, a bust in the NBA. So it's like, you know, as you progress, like you're always told you're special and all that. You're trying to foster that, but like, hey, sometimes like
the work ethic is what brings you to the end.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a high school basketball superstar. He came up with LaMelo Ball. I forgot his name. He's a short guy though, but he was dropping like 100 points per game, like in high school. Or like in like middle school, high school, and stuff.
That literally small.
Julian Newman, are you?
Yeah, Newman. Huh? Is it Newman?
Not Julian
Newman. Yeah, Newman. Yeah.
No. You can't compare it because he was playing in a lower tier like league, like the high schools he played against.
Yeah, but like in middle school, he was considered like a prodigy and everything.
Yeah, he was, but I remember I watched this like comparison of him so, like, versus anybody else.
And people like they were, but his physical limitations were way too much.
Oh yeah,
but they were trying to foster that.
His coach was his dad, and his dad basically made it so he would be the star of every game. Like, yeah. But at least, I mean, the Ball brothers that's a lot of luck there. Yeah, it's clever marketing too, or whatever, and athleticism and work ethic too. But I mean, genetic luck there too. That they blew up in that athletic build, tall. I think LaMelo's gonna be.
He's a star right now.
Like he's sick dude. He's gonna be. You know, he's already all-star caliber, man. Like, and he's a rookie, so it's not. I don't know. Maybe he's gonna be better than Kobe. Maybe he's gonna be better than LeBron. But it's,
for those prodigies, I would concede they don't need math.
Well, I mean, they're gonna have to buy houses, and they're gonna have to buy cars, and you know, hopefully they don't do it all on credit. Like, apparently, these boxes.
I mean, they should hire someone,
to
do all the smart money things for them. And if they do that, they're good. But they don't have to learn a lick of math.
Yeah. It's true.
And I can't say anything to them.
They don't need any cursive writing. I don't understand what Day said. Amen, Paul, and yes, intentional play on words. I don't get that. I think that was when you were saying OnlyFans or something.
Are we talking about like
gaming or OnlyFans or something? I don't know.
I think it was
the evolution of OnlyFans.
How to market yourself, you know. How to get Instagram followers.
Oh man.
Actually, that's one of the photography projects some of the kids have in high school.
What?
They have to make an Instagram account and then post photos for like a day or two.
Oh, I thought they had to like the person who gets the most followers by some period is like #1 in class for or it's ranked like that.
Come up with something viral or something. Like that's crazy.
Oh,
is it photography or is it like a communications kind of course? Like they're taught how to use some social media.
I mean, they should be taught like social media, at least like how to use it or how to use it safely.
What to look out, like what to look out for. Yeah.
Yeah, what to look out for, and I mean, social media is here to stay. Like it's going to be such an important part in every job or marketing, at least. Like it's its own whole marketing thing.
Yeah,
I do have something to bring up related. I think that moderation on these platforms could be taught. I think it's necessary. So should that be taught by teachers or by parents?
Moderation?
Yeah,
like screen
don't
time?
get these kids who are too addicted to their phones.
Yeah.
We're seeing that as it's a big problem and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
So like as a teacher, I would be worried about all my kids. Like first of all, you can't allow them to have their phones in class. Like you can't allow them to have access to their phones because they will look at them. So you need to have like a basket in front of your classroom or something. And don't even start me with COVID protocol because you can't do that shit. But you'd have to be like, you come into my class, phones go in the basket. You only get them on the way out. Like,
yeah.
Teachers were already doing that, but I worry about the younger generation as well, who get phones even younger than high school, and they're like addicted to the phone at like 7 years old, and they start building their schema of the world basically based off of garbage that they see online, and they think the world is really not what it is, and then they go to school like like how that could affect early learning when all you do is look at like, I don't know, could be Reddit, could be just browsing YouTube, could be Instagram,
TikTok.
But depending on what you look for, you could get a really messed up idea of the world at a very young age with no like parent supervision on what you're looking at.
You know what's funny about that list? There was no mention of Snapchat, TikTok.
I said
like,
TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
This is how I know we're boomers.
Like I don't know those.
Okay.
No, I get it.
But yeah.
What I've noticed too is just access to celebrity, or like pathways to celebrity. There's so many more opportunities now because of social media and all those different platforms, and there's no like governing factor restricting anyone besides really just drive, or I mean luck as well, luck of the pool. If you're an attractive person or if you have something that can go viral, there's luck there too. But like when we were growing up, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have internet. So like to get to celebrityhood, there was a very long and strenuous process, arduous process to become a celebrity, right? If you wanted to be on TV, you had to take drama in school so that you could act, and then you go into auditions, whatever that pathway is, because I didn't take it, so I don't know. But now, introduction of the internet, and then YouTube became a thing where you can put yourself on the screen by yourself, and that was you gain celebrity through YouTube. And now Instagram, smartphones, Twitch, TikTok. Oh my god. And how all of the platforms, Snapchat too, have this form of media and advertisement built in. Anyone can have access to celebrity. Sure, similar kind of like break. Like you kind of need a big break or whatever, but the access to getting a smartphone for everyone is there. It's not hard. Like everyone in the world, basically, like third world countries, they'll have a smartphone over like freaking place to live. Like they'll have internet access or a YouTube or an Instagram account when they're barely eating or when they barely have like a place to live or school and things like that. So that worries me. The fact that pathway and there is no separation now between like a normal person and a celebrity, because it's the line is being blurred out between.
So there's two things that come to mind when I go, like going back to Kyle's point of like, is it a teacher's thing or a parent's thing? I think it should be a combination of both. Like anything in moderation is all right, right? We talk about drinking, don't do too much. In moderation, it's good. Smoking weed, in moderation, you don't want to overdo it. Consuming content, I don't even like being on your phone. I don't even think of it as looking at social media. One of the things I was thinking about lately was think about how like someone that spends money versus makes money, right? You want to stay in the green. When you're looking at Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, whatever those things, think about the time you're consuming and the content you're consuming. Yes, you're being entertained, but if you're just consuming it just to consume as opposed to being engaged and being mindful about what you're consuming and actually using it towards something else, it's almost like it's a waste. It should be in moderation, because if kids are using it as entertainment just to like do something, like how some adults finish the workday and go back home to watch TV, it's that same thing. You don't want to be just that couch potato, because you're not really growing. You're not really like being a productive part of society at that point. Like it's good to be entertained, but I feel like there's a balance in that moderation has to be there. Whether it comes from your parents, whether it comes from teachers, I think there needs to be that, I guess, just mention or notice of it. Now, when it comes to FJ's point of like celebrity stardom being at our fingertips, I think that's a cool concept. I think the fact that you give people hope.
Yeah. I'm not against it. I'm worried about it though.
Obviously there are two sides to anything, right? Like there's a side of, yes, get celebrity stardom through being on your phone, doing things on your phone, but that's the type of person that's not really consuming that content all the time. At least in that situation, they're investing their time to create something, right? There's content creators, and then there's us, the consumers.
You get like the Jake Pauls and the Logan Pauls too.
Everyone's gonna have their own definition for success. If that's their definition of success, of like getting into fights and doing really disrespectful stuff just for the clout, you know what? It is a crappy way to go about it. But if they're making their millions and they're making the money that they wanted to make,
I mean, we had like before social media, we had Jackass.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call.
Hey, but
it wasn't harm on others. It was harm on themselves.
Yeah.
Well, they did like trash a bunch of stores and
right.
Like they did
some damage involved, but they paid for it.
So I don't know.
Still a bad influence. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Like
and they did have a lot of still bad influence. A lot of people copied Jackass.
Yeah, a lot of people copied theirs or did similar crazy stunts.
So like,
right?
I mean, it's always gonna be entertaining somewhat.
What they're saying here too, like social media class could be, it's pretty cool and it should be important growing up in class. A lot of these creators, these content creators, viral people who are now celebrities, they didn't get taught the right from wrong before going about the media. It was more like a trial and error. If they made a bad choice, then the media would react. It was like, it's a bad feedback if you made a bad choice with social media, a bad tweet or a bad video or going into that forest where people commit suicide or something. Like he didn't think beforehand the morality aspect of his choice of going to film there. It was the backlash of what happened after, and then he's like, oh. So that's what I'm saying in terms of like why this somehow a subject of social media usage and things like that is important because there is no morality aspect between the celebrity of becoming from a normal person to becoming a celebrity. There is no morality aspect. None of that is taught, and it's still not. I don't think it is. It's like the examples right now still of the most viral things, especially Instagram, like the Instagram model. Like, no one was taught to do that. No one had a course to be like, this is how you succeed as an Instagram model. No. And there's like, this is what you shouldn't do as an Instagram model. This is what you have to think about in terms of the morality aspect or the wholesomeness of being an Instagram model. None of that is taught, and it's still not. But I mean, yeah, at some point it should. Somehow it's got to be regulated.
It's hard to say what is actually being taught and what's not being taught. It's also hard to say you can't generalize what people are seeing on Instagram, because think about what you see on Instagram, right? The whole algorithm thing. You're going to see certain things. If you're seeing a lot of Instagram models, you're seeing a lot of influencers. If you're clicking on a whole lot of like hot ladies showing off their new bikinis, if you're clicking on some of those toxic links like, oh, Jake Paul just made the news, it's going to be different from what someone else sees when they're clicking people like David Goggins, who's always inspirational, who's seeing people like Gary Vee, who's always promoting love and positivity.
But they're not Instagram models.
But you still have the people that click on them. Like, they have big followers, right? Like,
they have
to say that
product.
People don't teach that. It's not that they don't teach it. They're being swayed into other means. Now, I think it's important that, like, should this be a thing in school? Should this be a thing in high school? It goes back to Kyle's question of should parents be teaching this stuff?
Self-respect.
I think what's cool about us,
I
think what's cool about us is because we're older and we're seeing it. We have, not to say a responsibility, but we have the capability to warn younger people. So like your nieces or nephews, we can be like, yo, like, what are you looking at? Like, you don't need to be looking at that stuff. You need to watch out, just because, some of these things may not be wholesome. Some of these things aren't teaching you, they're not being good examples for what life has to offer. You're only seeing one thing. I think we're a cool situation that we've seen no internet and we've seen too much internet.
Yeah. I honestly can't knock Instagram models for what they do. That's their hustle. Like, that they're able to market themselves, and if they're able to make, a lot of them are pulling six figures, like that's their hustle. That's what they do. There's a lot of self-promotion with that sort of thing. And like,
and so is it something you would promote for your niece or your daughter, or is that something you'd be like, hey, if you have that sort of hustle in you and you want to be successful like that, go for it? Is that what you would? As
long as we warn them about the safeties and about consent, and of course crazy people, they're a grown-ass woman. She's gonna be a grown-ass woman. She's gonna make their own decisions and grown-up decisions for themselves. I'd rather her be able to come to me for safety and actually look to me rather than hide everything from me or try.
Well, it's not gonna be hidden.
Be involved in the world at all.
If it's Instagram, it won't be hidden. But it's like, at what point does that imagery become an aspiration from someone who's young?
This is talking about the morality that.
Yeah, self-respect, right?
But morality is subjective, and morality is.
It is.
Yeah. So like, am I gonna really knock someone for this? Not really. Like,
it's not about knocking. Again, I acknowledge the fact that they've reached their celebrity and they're making money and it's paying their bills and they're living their life this way and it's working for them. But if there is no interaction with the youth on how to get there, or should you get there, or is that something you want to aspire to? Is that what you want to model? A child who's going to see this stuff at probably 11, 13 years old, they're going to see it, regardless of, as you say, let them be aware that they're going to come across this or they have to make some judgment call, but they're going to see acknowledgement. They're going to see success. They're going to see followers and celebrity. And so is it safe? Is it safe to aspire for something like that at that age when they're going to be exposed to it at 11, 12, 13, in their teens? That's when they're going to see it. I mean,
I think from a teaching point of view, I wouldn't mind having like one class covering Instagram models. I wouldn't mind that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And you show them
a lesson. Yeah.
like in high school, I don't think I would do this course for an 11-year-old. I think I would do this course more like a 15, 16-year-old towards the end of high school, more likely to be exposed to this. But at the same time, reinforcing positive self-esteem. Like, you have to, like, there's the good and the bad, right? Like, you're making money, but also you're part of that engine of hurting somebody else's self-esteem. And you have to keep that in mind too. But like I said earlier, if you got it, flaunt it, and like that kind of thing. Yeah, and I mean, to keep a physically fit, attractive body, it generally takes a lot of hard work as well.
Yeah,
a lot of hard work and dedication to your diet and exercise and your lifestyle. So,
or just a lot of Photoshop.
I mean, developmentally, these people are.
Well, that would be
people are
part
gonna
of the
be
class
exposed
too.
to it
Like
anyway.
the reality versus, right? Reality versus Instagram versus reality or whatever. You could have a whole nother class on that itself. I taught one class. I took one period and I showed them like basically the process of Photoshop, right? Because they have a bunch of those YouTube videos of like time lapse and basically transforming this girl into this girl. And I'm trying to promote positive self-image for the girls in my class because you know, Paul's saying he's seeing more self-harm and cutting. I mean, I came from the original cutting place. It's like, you know, Aboriginal kids, they were cutting themselves like way before like the modern kids were. I think the majority of girls in my class have scars all over their arms.
Yeah.
And so it was the message of, here's what you see on these platforms. Like Instagram wasn't really big back then, but it would have been cool to show them that. I think I just had YouTube, but like, you know, don't trust what you see there and aim to be like that and be sad because you don't look like that, because oftentimes that is doctored and that is, you know, and this is how they do it. And you could see using the software, just pulling in the cheekbones and just shaving away fat, and you know what they do. It's insane. So it was my attempt at uncovering that, in case some of the girls and guys in my class weren't aware. And if they thought that girls actually look like that. Yeah.
Enough surgery, they could. But Paul, you were gonna say something too?
Yeah, pretty much, like, I agree. Like, kids are going to be exposed to it regardless, like social media, sexuality, everything. Like, you know, I think the important, and they're going to make these decisions no matter, even if you try, you could teach a certain way, you could teach your way, and that's great, you know, and you teach your way, teach your morals. At the end of the day, they're going to decide their morals as soon as they develop themselves into an adult, you know? So are you going to ostracize or judge or make that as a definition of your character as a parent or as a teacher, or make that as a thing? Like, I see a lot of people saying like, oh, I failed my child, or I failed this. I'm like, you could be the worst parent in the world and have Barack Obama as your kid, or you could be the best parent in the world and you could have literally Hitler. Like, it's really, you gotta, you know, all the best you could do is like give them the best tools and everything you can possibly do. And also you got to understand that people are, like, children are not just necessarily an extension of the parent. Like, that's not, they're their own person. So, you know, I just always find it odd, and like, there's some written rules like this should be this way or this should be that way. Like, you know, like, why are they working that job or doing this sort of thing? And it's just like, well, they're their own person. If that's the hustle, or that's what they wanted to do. And of course, like, yeah, as a parent or as a teacher or as an advisor, you should always tell them, like, you know, there's always some, you know, there may be some kind of, I like what Kyle said, like, understand that you're probably contributing to the negative self-esteem of others if it's, you know, super altered in anything. I know that's not something that you can control personally, but that's something that just to be aware of, you know.
Mike was saying,
if you're becoming part of that machine, right? It's a big machine.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm gonna go back into that, but before Mike's comment gets too old, he says we sort of learned that form of that kind of thing in elementary school. He learned about how magazine ads and portrayals should be taken with a grain of salt, same kind of thing. Yes. And it's not only good to say I'm not just targeting, let's say, like women or Instagram models or, you know, these streamers or OnlyFans, hot tub, who might even get into like maybe like that, like the sexual industry or exotic dancing or that kind of film portrayal. But let's even take side, like, you know, rap artists, mumble rap, or like that, the whole thing of where music is going to in terms of what's popular to based on
think it's
image
excellent.
So like Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yeah, I love Tekashi 6ix9ine. Coi Leray. Yeah, sticky with the blicky out. Like, okay, honestly,
okay.
If you go to New York, if you actually go to New York and talk to the kids, they loved Tekashi 6ix9ine when he was popping. You know,
Right.
It gives an attitude. It's a rawness. There's actual, like, he represented like all of that. Like,
So like,
you know,
guns and drugs and bitches, apparently. Like that's his.
but that's always been something that's been talked about in music, no matter
It's
how
true.
far you go.
You're right. And is
you
it
could
something?
go back to the Viking Age and the Edda, and like how everyone talks about, like, you know, Valkyries and war and everything.
Right.
It's always been a subject to talk about.
Okay. All right. I mean, like,
National anthems are literally war anthems.
That's true. That's true. To perpetuate NWA, same thing.
Yeah.
Right. No.
I love the music now. I know
You
like,
love
I
the
just
music.
love it.
Okay.
Personally, I do not.
I'm not a fan of where music has gone, but not all music. Obviously, there's still. I mean, it's so diverse, and it's a very broad industry, of course. But
yeah,
just the fame of where some of them are heading, and you know, war is one thing, I guess. I don't know. That's a different subject, I guess.
I can feel Kyle cringing about mumble rap.
Oh no, I just hate it. That's my personal opinion. I hate it. But I'm not gonna tell Paul to hate it like me.
Oh no,
like
I hate it because
production.
I like lyrical rap. So
the music,
totally get it.
the music
That's
itself.
Just what I think of it. I'm like, every time
I actually really enjoy like,
production value of music is still there, like the quality or the bass and whatever, the 808 beat, like the beats are there, and that's what makes the music. But it's the context of, like, you don't need those lyrics or that context for the music to be the same. I think this is my opinion. I'm not saying you have to agree, but if Tekashi 6ix9ine or all the different Lil Pumps and all the Lils, right? If they talked about if let's say instead of Gucci Gang, they were talking about, like, I don't know, anything else, it would have been the same. Well, maybe not Gucci Gang, because Gucci obviously has that prestige of bougie branding or whatever. Like, yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, like, the impact of it. Like, there's certain songs impact where you won't even need to know what they're saying. And a lot of times people don't even know what they're saying. And the music is still good because of the music, the actual music production behind it. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
I guess that can be like dancehall too. Like, not a lot of people know what Jamaicans are screaming about, but
I mean, I don't really care what people say.
I don't really watch what them want to do.
Will do. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what it's being said or whatever, the music value's there, but it's the context that's brought into it that's associated with the fame, that's associated with that image of, like, success. That's what I don't think is necessary in where it goes and whatever. I don't know.
That's good.
Opinion.
It's an interesting world we live in, let's just say. Because back to the beats too, I think it's awesome that, like, a nobody, like a random person who is really good at making beats can throw up a beat on YouTube, and then who is it? Was it T-Pain or somebody?
Timbaland
found at it. I was like, I need to talk to this person.
Yeah, Timbaland, right?
And then someone got in touch with it, and then Yeah, Timberland. Yeah, and so you know, Timberland has access to anybody's beat. If I love that idea, and that's part of this thing too. Like the internet opens the world up to anyone, and you could find talent anywhere, and that idea is amazing. I do like that.
All right, guys, that was riveting.
Crazy world.
Any
I would say it's crazy. Exciting.
WXYZ.
What was that, Paul?
I say it's not just crazy. It's exciting.
It is. Oh, there's the potential. Yeah. I'm not envious. I think I actually feel lucky to have seen before and after the smartphone, before and after the internet. I wouldn't want to be one who only knew internet, because there's a question on some of these apps, you know, where it's like, can you live without the internet? And I can say yes. And I don't know if a lot of people post internet can say yes, you know? I wouldn't want to be one of those people who can't say they can live without the internet, you know?
Oh yeah. How do you take a picture? What about you, kid?
Oh yeah, that or like this. Oh no, when you hold the phone. This was the weirdest thing, man. That's so weird. I don't even hold my phone like this. Who does this? Because you saw that, right, Paul? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Or like the parent or something asking his kids. So weird. That gave me. It made me cringe a little bit.
I don't know. To me, it's exciting because the world's always changing with that, and I'm like, you know, I mean, familiarity is nice, but it's also exciting for me to see the changes. Like, we're seeing Asian guys on TV and movies now. Come on, when did we grow up with that?
I mean,
Jin and De La Ghetto on the same episode of Wild and Out.
Yeah, like when
talking about egg rolls and spring rolls.
Well, aside from the Jet Li movies back in the day,
I mean,
it's
Chinese. Not to say that it shouldn't have been then. It should have been back then too. It's just good opportunities there. Yeah. Oh, Abba and Preach did say that one thing about like making Ariel, Little Mermaid black.
Oh yeah, Halle fucking love her, man. Yeah.
I do. What I agree about actually with Abba and Preach, I didn't know that they would take this take on it, but they're like, we grew up with Ariel being the way she looked, redhead, pale skin, green tail, whatever, right? We grew up with that, and making the statement just for the sake of having more black representation on film. It's like, don't take something that's existing and then make it black and say that this was for the sake of for the culture or for the race, whatever. But it's like, make more roles that were meant to be that, not change a role that's already been identified as something and then change that figure. You know what I mean?
I think it's because it's a classic, right?
It's a classic.
You can say the same thing about the ABC song.
You can, but it's not race. It's not a race thing.
But
the role was made already. It was already created.
Mermaids don't exist.
Yeah, but it's called no, but Paul, it's called The Little Mermaid, and it's a live adaptation of something that's already existed. Mm-hmm. So to make the statement, to make it's a blatant reaction to try at something that's not really solving the problem. It's to make it kind of just.
So you feel like it's forced diversity?
It's forced rather than something that was actually created for something like that. She is, and it shouldn't have been a Little Mermaid.
Aesthetically, why not? Like, it works.
Okay, but why did it have to be Little Mermaid? Why couldn't it be like the Little Fairy and make a new one?
So why are people against Miles Morales as a Black Spider-Man? But Miles Morales is actually really great Black Spider-Man.
Yeah, but Miles Morales is not Peter Parker. He's not Peter Parker. They're making, I don't know her name, sorry, the actress, but they're making her Ariel. It's not like she's a new mermaid whose name is not Ariel. Her name is Ariel. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
So
It's like
I had-
casting a blonde as Pocahontas or something. I don't know. It's like she's Pocahontas.
Well,
my take back to the classic thing. So I think of like black parents who will raise their kids with all these Disney classics.
Right.
And if all the classics except Pocahontas, I guess
Mulan,
Mulan is now a
well,
classic.
because
But
Pocahontas
that's not really a
and Mulan, their
classic.
characters were literally
Moana's
based
a
on the
classic
race.
now,
Like
guys.
Snow
The
White,
race was the
like you can list
character.
them off.
Yeah.
Aladdin also,
Aladdin, yeah,
a
Jasmine,
little bit brown skin, a little bit.
Lion King, but it's not like lions are black.
But it's like Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White,
Yeah,
Little Mermaid, like
Rapunzel.
these classic, Rapunzel. They're
Well,
all white.
They
So-
need to
so,
change,
like,
but you add
if-
them.
no, but these will be rebooted over and over till the end of time.
Mm.
And so I think is it forced diversity? Yeah, kind of, but maybe it's a good thing. Like maybe if the core set of Disney classics has like all the races,
I
that
think
would be
it's like,
cool.
yeah, okay, you already have a redhead Caucasian looking cartoon, an Ariel, right?
Right.
Yeah,
You already have one.
she could be like the Irish.
Why not have a black one? You already have one.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
make one
why?
black,
But why do you have to
not
make her
both of those
Ariel?
goes?
Why not?
Aladdin.
Why not give her the name of what the actress's actual name is, and just have the Little Mermaid that?
Porque no los dos? Why not both? You still have your old one
Oh,
anyway.
I didn't say not both, but they're not doing
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm
They're
saying. Like, I don't
looking
know.
to
I think
replace.
it's weird that it's called forced diversity, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think it's. I don't really feel like.
I'm just saying I liked that take on it. I didn't anticipate. So Aber and Preach, you know them too, right?
No.
Oh, sorry. It's there's these two YouTubers, two African American men who African Canadian men who I guess discuss on controversial topics online or on YouTube, and the casting of that is something they talked about, and I did not see that they would have that take on it, and it was insightful, and I after hearing it I am more in agreement with that than I'm not saying that the backlash of people complaining that Ariel is not a white redhead. I'm not with the bashers. I'm not against what they did. Sure, they've changed it. They've casted it. Go with it. But I just didn't think they needed to. I didn't think it was necessary. It wasn't meant. The action to do that was not for the role.
They wanted to do it. Like
who's they? And for what purpose though? And was it really because though this character really will personify the ideal of Ariel, or was it because we wanted to make a statement with this film and make it modern, and by doing that we're gonna make her black?
So
it's not about the role, right? It's about her skin.
I mean, I look at it as like face value. She's black, okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Good. No, that's
like,
good. You're not
gonna-
bashing it, and you're not
That's
like
why I
saying,
just feel like it's
like pro.
weird, like I don't know, because if you already have these stories and everything, like forced diversity or whatever, Ariel's character was not based on her race. Like Pocahontas, her character is a Native Indian.
Right.
That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Mulan, she was literally in China, and that's her character as a certain, thing. Like,
Well, you look at Sleeping Beauty.
But in the movie though, all the mermaids are like white mermaids. So they didn't have
Yes,
like
they didn't
races
have
in
that.
the mermaid.
Yeah.
All the mermaids are white. And all the humans, they were probably white too.
Some a little
So-
Eric was
darker,
kinda
yeah,
tan.
like
Eric was
Hispanic.
kinda tan, so I
Eric
don't
was
know.
Eric was
Yeah,
Middle
you
Eastern.
feel
He's a tan white guy.
Eric
Hey,
was Middle
I
Eastern.
think,
Sebastian was Jamaican.
I like, yeah, but
Sebastian
he's
was
a
Jamaican.
seashell. he's a shellfish.
He was red. He was a redneck.
No, it's
I'm
cool.
sticking
Like,
to
I
my,
get there's
like-
always gonna be people who's contested with it. I just think it's like, that's
I'm
cool.
excited for it. I'd love to see it. I'm not bashing
I
the
know you're not
casting.
bashing it. I just think it's
Yeah.
fine. Like,
I agreed though
I-
after hearing that sentiment that I was like, yeah, you know what? They didn't need to do that. They could have just created new roles, created new stories, make new
Yeah,
classics,
no,
you
for
know?
sure.
Yeah, like
for sure, but they did it, so
they
just be
did it.
happy with it. That's the way
Yeah,
I
I'm
see
not
it.
gonna I'm not against it. Yeah, I'm not against
Rather than
it.
being like, oh, You know, it's like,
I'm excited. That's one of the sisters, right? Who is it again? Her name?
Hallie.
Is Chloe and Sue and who?
Chloe and Hallie. So this is Hallie Bailey.
Hallie,
yeah.
I will say
They're
my biggest takeaway from tonight is future wifey, you better know how to read an analog clock.
Digital. Only digital.
Well, no, they're too young for you. They only know digital.
Nah, if it was already my age, I'm the oldest among this group. Like, you guys, it might not be a sure thing. Anywho. All right, guys. Cool.
All right.
Anyone else want to say anything? Good. We're signing off. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll be on again next week, Thursday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching, guys.
That's cool.
Sugoi.
Yeah. Arigato.
ABC.